August 15, 2023 City Council meeting. Before we begin the meeting, I would like to introduce our City Council that is present with us. Councilmember Mindy Fernandez, Councilmember Ryan Woods, Councilmember Casey R. Ambrose, Councilmember Osnick, Councilmember Locke should be here shortly.
She's on her way.
On her way, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Bennett Lublin and Mayor Linda Ackley. We also have special guest Commissioner Rahman. Thank you. I would like to now turn the meeting back over to you, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to welcome everyone, and we'll call the meeting to order. And if everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Pro Tem Lublin will now give the invocation.
Dear God, we ask you to preside over this meeting tonight. Help us to act as a unified team to open our hearts and make fair and just decisions that improve our community. Also, may we come together as a whole with the courage and strength to show kindness and compassion as we collectively work towards the betterment of humanity. Amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Ackley.
Here.
Ambrose.
Here.
Fernandez. Here. Locke.
Here.
Lublin.
Here.
Osnick.
Here.
Woods.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone from council have a request for agenda changes? I would like to add one. We're going to have an appointment tonight to Parks and Rec. Let's do that under the mayor's report here in mid-meeting. And then we're going to change the order of new business, moving new business 1 and 2 down to 5 and 6. And then so 3, 4, and 5, or 3, 4, 5, and 6 will now become 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I believe that's all I have.
Madam Mayor and Council, Finance Department would like to add a resolution ratifying the agreement with the Department of Treasury, if we could put that under new business.
Under new business, okay.
Would that be like a 5 out of 7?
Yes, that'd be fine. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, pursuant to Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act, I am requesting a closed session at the end of tonight's meeting to discuss negotiations with the part-time and full-time fire. And I'm requesting that myself, City Manager Witt, and Scott Schrader be included in that.
Okay, do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Osnick will make the motion.
I'll support that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Mr. City Manager, do we want to make 5 and 6 then after we come out of?
The one that you moved down, Mayor, we should go into closed session, make that the last item, so when we arise from closed session, should the council decide to make a vote, we can all vote and go home, but we get all the other business out of the way and the updates and the reports before we go into closed session. Then we'll only have 2 things. So
Okay.
I think Ms. Gross just pointed out closed session. We're going to go in. We're going to bring in Ms. Jacob will be recording secretary. Ms. Gross will give you a report on what we've done. We'll have backup with Mr. Schrader in terms of the numbers, whatever the council wants. So we're going to tell you about what they asked for and what we tentatively agreed. We haven't agreed until this council votes on those resolutions. So we'll get all of that in closed session because you'll get more specifics and you can ask the kind of questions
And
that
come
you're
out
allowed to
and do
ask.
our vote. Okay. Anything else? Okay, I guess we can move on now. I'll turn it back to the city clerk for audience participation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For audience participation, we do have 2 options this evening, those that are in person and those that may be online. For those that are going to participate, we do have a 3-minute opportunity for you to share your comments. We do ask for you to please state your name and address. Those that do approach the podium, there is a sign-in sheet, and for those that attend online that wish to speak, the opportunity is pressing star 9 on your telephone keypad. And again, please state your name and address. Ms. Jackways, is there anybody online? No. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak regarding an agenda item?
On the agenda?
No, regarding nothing on the agenda, but something else, yes. Please approach the podium with name and address.
My name is Jeanette DeCourcy. I live at 773 Woods Court in the Tamarack complex across the street from here. So the reason why I'm here tonight is I want to know how to go about getting a sign that says "Do not block driveway." I was actually told to email the chief by Jennifer here and Officer Paul Barch, and I haven't heard back on him, so that maybe he could take a look at it and then come to the meeting tonight to help discuss it. So there's a tremendous amount of traffic, and we can't get in and out of our subdivision, especially during traffic time. And with the gas station that's already been determined to go in at Maple and Decker, we've been told it's not going to have increase any more traffic, but it sure is going to change the flow of traffic with the drive that they're going to put in off of Maple, the entrance in and out. So how do I go about getting this done?
Madam Mayor, she just did. We'll order up a study of the traffic engineer to take a look at it now, and we'll add to that by saying that as soon as construction begins to happen and completes, we'll do another traffic study to see how we can relieve any problems with your intersection as best we can, based on current traffic and based on new traffic or change in traffic pattern. So that will happen. The record should show that we're ordering up the traffic engineer to do a study and see what we need to do to at least try to alleviate the issue you brought up.
Okay. I do have another issue with the sidewalk that's right there, and I've taken pictures of it. A few years ago, I had Walled Lake out there to take a look at the sidewalk that's never been done. It's pretty dangerous right now. They put it off to Oakland County. Oakland County came out and said it was a Walled Lake issue. So the sidewalk between the curb and Dance Dynamics is all busted up, rised up. People use it as a bike trail, walking, and it's pretty dangerous.
Well, I can speak to that as well. You just did what you needed to do. The man sitting right behind you will be there tomorrow looking at that sidewalk and give us an update on what needs to be done.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Do you have anyone online?
No, Madam Mayor, we do not.
Okay. We'll close audience participation then. We'll move on to approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the regular council meeting of June 20th, 2023?
Fernandez will make that motion.
What's the second?
We have a motion, we have a second. Anyone have any comments or anything on the meeting or on the minutes? Okay, roll call, please.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Lublin?
Yes.
Osnick?
Yes.
Woods?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Ackley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any council members who sit or attend a board that they would like to
Yes,
give?
Madam Mayor, I have just a real short,
Certainly.
what the Planning Commission has done is we've set it up for the attorney and our planner to look into that issue with the generators on the sides of the yards, on the side yard setbacks. So they're going to be reporting back to us at the next Planning Commission meeting.
Okay.
That's basically it. I think Ms. Hanna has more information about what we've accomplished at
Okay.
the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Okay, any other council member have any report? Yes.
We didn't have Parks and Rec last night, but we did have an unofficial meeting. We are continuing to look at the pickleball courts and adding that to our recreation. We've been able to do a lot in the last year and a half of replacing a lot of equipment in a lot of our playgrounds. So we are going to start looking at updating our master plan. And now that we've replaced a lot, we can remove those from the master plan and update it with new things. So I want to thank the Parks and Rec and the staff for their work on that.
Thank you.
In the library report, the library will be closing, I think the 21st is the date, and we're going to do some great renovations inside. We're excited for that to be completed. Hopefully, just after Labor Day, we'll reopen. So that is the library report.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Okay, at this time, we'll turn it over to this, well, first we have the consent judgment. We'll turn over to the city manager.
Mayor, if you're moving to me, the first, number one with the A, B, C, and D is the consent agenda. So if you move to receive and file consent agenda, which consists of the departmental, divisional, statistical reports. And then I have 2 or 3 other items to bring up, and I'm going to have staff report to council.
Okay. What we'll do is take a vote on this, and then I'm going to back up because I can't read my own notes. I added the appointment to the mayor's report. So let's go ahead. Do you have any questions on the reports?
I'll make a motion to receive and file the statistical reports.
Okay.
Ambrose will second.
Any comments? Roll call, please.
Locke.
Yes.
Lublin.
Yes.
Osnick.
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Ambrose.
Yes.
Fernandez.
Yes.
Ackley.
Yes. Okay, backing up, I skipped over my own addition here. We have here tonight Ms. Heaven Adams. I think everyone is probably knows her or has seen her next door. She has one of the pop-ups for the farmers market, always there, and her family. And she has volunteered or been asked, or however it went. We have her, and we're going to put her on the Parks and Rec. So, and with her enthusiasm, I think she will be a fantastic person on Parks and Rec, and I'm sure that Mindy and the others will appreciate
Absolutely.
her attendance. So at this time, if you would like to accept my nomination and by motion, we'll appoint her to Parks and Rec.
You have a resolution, Mayor?
Right, yes, will you, everybody have the resolution? I'm looking at it. Did you get a copy of it?
I gave it to
I don't know that I need a formal resolution when someone is looking to help and give back.
No, I have it here, but I thought everyone had it. Give me 1 second, I can post it on the screen for everyone to view. Perfect. Everybody go along with what's up on the screen?
Reading the caption should do the job, Mayor.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to, I'll make the resolution accepting the mayor's nomination to appoint Heaven Adams to the Parks and Recreation Commission pursuant to the requirements of the city charter, making an appointment to the Parks and Recreation Commission. Being Resolution 2023-71.
71.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
We have support. Any comments? Okay, roll call, please.
Lublin.
Yes.
Osnick.
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Ambrose.
Yes.
Fernandez.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Ackley.
Yes.
Thank you.
So all that remains is to get you sworn in. They can do it after the meeting or stop over after farmer's market and we'll get you sworn in, get you to be a real true member of Parks and Rec, and welcome aboard. And glad to have you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank
Glad to
you.
have
Okay, now we'll move back to the city manager. I apologize.
Okay, I've got 2, 3, and 4, but since we were on the mayor's report, as you recall, Mayor, you asked me to do me and staff to get together and to do an assessment of kicking up the AV in this room, and I think it got handed out, so I think we should talk about that too, since your report's there. You got a proposal here to improve what we call the police training room here, and the packet shows what it requires to kick this up and turn it into a professional AV system. And the total package here is $39,000. I would require that you vote on that by motion of some sort if we're going to move ahead on that. But since you're getting this late, you might want to delay it, but I don't think there's any reason to. We're going to kick it up. But, Mayor, have you got anything else to say about that in terms of our discussion about who pays?
It's definitely needed. Doing some of the DDA meetings from Zoom, it's been less than totally satisfactory. And I think we need to make some improvements. And money-wise, is there any possibility of the city going through the WOCA board, which we are a member of? WOCA board is setting on
Ms. Jakeway is...
a lot of money.
How much do they have in the bank?
1.2 million.
WOCA receives money from the city. The city's portion goes for our contribution goes to them. They've been sitting on the money. In my 13 years, they've done very little for us. So this would fit within what the money's supposed to be used for. My proposal that I requested on the mayor's behalf was to put cameras in here where we get a legitimate professional view of our meetings. You get zoom-in ability, and ultimately there would be a production room on the other side here so that people can professionally develop meetings and stuff like that as we move ahead. The waiting on WOCA board to vote or approve this would slow that process down. So what I would suggest that we do to meet your requirements, Mayor, is that consider passing this and moving ahead and getting the cameras in so when we are live streaming it looks professional, and the people begin to get a close-up view. You will be able, the camera would be here, we'll be able to see the audience and the speaker. The cameras would be over here. The 98-inch screen replaces the projector. All of that goes away, so you have modern stuff. Plug in the computer, the graphics are good, you know what's on camera. So it's just a complete upgrade of our AV technicians' view of what we should do. That's what we got. Let's pay for it now. I'm suggesting we pay for it now and bill WOCA and see if WOCA pays for it. If they do not pay for it, or if there's an inclination to push back, then this council's got to ask very seriously, why are we giving them money? 13 years, they've done very little. I'm not blaming anybody, it's just that way. But we're sending them money, our money. Do we know how much that is right offhand?
I do not know right offhand.
Okay, so the money comes from?
PEG, our PEG fees from AT&T and Comcast.
We are contributing to that 1.2 million. They got that in the bank, and if they're not spending it, I'm not sure why the city ought to be building that treasury for an entity that's not giving anything back. So I don't want to make a problem for them, but I think it's time to ask that question. I'm glad you did, Mayor. But I still would like you to say move ahead on this, and we'll get them in here and get cameras in and see how quickly we can get a professional view on camera, on YouTube or wherever else it gets published. That's what we're looking to do, and I appreciate you bringing it up that way.
Well, it's just, like you say, a lot of money goes into WOCA from the city, and we get very little back. I think we're getting, maybe 13,000, 14,000 or something, plus they do some taping and stuff for us. But another benefit of this, as well as going streaming on YouTube, if we set this up right, it could also be streamed through on Comcast for those people who don't Zoom or
Exactly.
don't. All they got to do is flip their television on and they can watch the council meeting, which they haven't had the ability to do before. So, and it needs to happen. We need to approve the way we do our Zoom process and tape the meetings.
Mayor, the WOCA issue is a separate issue. I mean, we would certainly like to get those funds back. This is the police training room that we also use as the council chambers, but this is the police training room. And we have a potential funding method through our drug forfeiture funds to pay for this improvement that will also benefit, benefits the council and the city, but it's the police training facility. So I think that's a great idea.
I agree with that, but if we can get that money back, if
Get it back, it'd be even better.
and so we've been paying, for a couple of years, we've been paying for streaming. I held off on that, like I took that hardcore, but pressure from council members want it out there, they want to be transparent and all that, so we've paid a lot of money through the last year or so to live stream and get all of our meetings up. And they weren't all that impressive, but, they gave transparency, but you can't really see people clear and all that. This will, hopefully, they improve that. We're going to get the state-of-the-art kind of stuff. So what you just said, Councilmember Lublin, is that we might be able to get that money back, but we do have a funding source, and that is from the forfeiture funds. Yes.
Any more comments or questions? Okay, how about a roll call vote?
Well, no one made a motion yet. I guess I'll make that motion to...
That's true. Nobody made a motion. I'll take the motion.
Move forward with the police training room, entire video recording, or just the whole video system, video audio system.
Did you want to put a not to exceed number on
Sure,
that?
not to exceed the number, the 39,000.
Well, why don't you round it up to...
45,000.
Exactly.
45,000, in case there's anything extra.
Okay.
Thanks
I'll
for
second
keeping me
that.
on the straight and narrow. Okay, we have a motion, we have a support. Any further questions? Now let's have a roll call.
Osnick?
Yes.
Woods?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Lublin?
Yes.
Ackley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think that clears up our overlap.
I didn't forget anything else.
Clears up our overlap, Mayor.
I just can't read my own notes here.
All right, I'm going to move into the most exciting thing of the night, and that is reporting on the Municipal Employees Retirement System, Wall Lake. Ms. Pesta, our Finance Director, has some exciting news.
I do. Hopefully they like it. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I did place on your table a proposed resolution, and if you read the caption, it's going to be for ratifying the agreement with the Michigan Department of Treasury for our Municipal Employees Retirement System for the Protecting Michigan Pension Grant Program. We were recently awarded at the end of July over $4.3 million to put towards our pension grant to get us to the 60% funded requirement. That is what the whole point of the program was for. So now we need to get that agreement over to MERS. They are going to work with the Department of Treasury and the City of Walled Lake to make sure that goes directly into the retirement program. And we are going to do that as smoothly as possible with the Finance Department over in the MERS Department. So that is before you. I think we're going to discuss that proposal a little bit later in the evening, but we are excited to announce that news.
Let me add a little bit to that. We lost the grant on the pickleball, but we got a $4 million grant thanks to Ms. Pesta's application. So I'll take that balance right now. I think she said it already, and I'm pretty sure your resolution covers all of that. Some people remember the unfunded liability at $11 million, and we were still bleeding. This council and the predecessor council took action to begin to bridge it all down to stop that bleeding. The principal, the liability still is pretty high, and we were, the worst rate that I recall in my 13 years is we were 31% funded. I'll ask the council member with the CPA degree, that's how much unfunded, council?
69%.
69% unfunded.
70%
That's
underfunded.
That's underfunded. That's really an embarrassment. What this grant does is it brings us to 60% funded, which now is 40% unfunded. Puts us in a position to be able to clear that up in years to come and actually get back in the red, if you will. So we came from a really rough place. You got to credit the state legislature, regardless of your politics, they did take effort to protect pension fund. It was a wise idea, and it wouldn't have mattered who was in my opinion, it wouldn't have mattered who was in office. They would have moved to protect the pension funds because nobody wants a pension fund to go belly up. And so what it also does is it creates a scenario where the people who accept these funds, that's us and other communities, perhaps a few, who can never drop below 60% again. Is that correct? Is that
That's
your understanding?
correct.
So that we're now bound to fund our liability. That didn't exist exactly before, and that's why that was the mess. That was a failure of leadership at every level. If you're going to promise somebody benefits, you need to fund it as you go. And so that won't happen under this. So $4 million, I think when Ms. Pessa brought it to council, she was talking about a little more. I predicted that we would get $4 million. We did. And because that's what brings us to 60%. So that's the best news I can bring you tonight. We're going to give you an update on a whole bunch of other stuff. You got anything else to add? I think that's the best thing of it tonight.
Unless there's any other questions about it, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you very much for your work on that.
Thank you.
All right, next one, Mayor, would be item number 3 under my
Don't we
report.
want to make the,
Yeah, you probably should if we.
propose the
You
resolution?
took the words out of my mouth, sir.
Right.
Sorry about that.
He was going on.
Go ahead, we can do it now.
We got to slow him down a little.
Yeah, well, you know. I'm
Trying to say it.
excited about $4 million.
Go for it.
So who wants to make this motion?
I'll make the motion. Proposed resolution 2023-72.
72.
I'll second that.
Okay, I can only concur what everybody says. You know, I've sat at this table the longest and was here when it was probably more than 69% underfunded. I think we kind of kept getting worse and worse. But it seems fantastic. And like the city manager said, I don't care what party you are. We have mixed parties here on council. This can only be a good and a win-win for everybody and for every city that needed to have the help from the state. I think it's fantastic that the state stepped up, and we're now in a much better financial state.
Good deal. Okay.
Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Woods?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Lublin?
Yes.
Osnick?
Yes.
Ackley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, I want to bring to the council's attention several projects that we got that are ongoing and try to get to the state of where they are. And Ms. Jakeway, who deals in our economic development, she's the managing director of the DDA, plus she does our economic development reporting. So if I can ask Ms. Jakeway to begin with which whenever you want. I think the most interesting one is Starbucks. So start there, and since it's not that far along, give them, and then you take it where you needed to go.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So as Councilmember Osnick has mentioned, there have been some projects moving in the economic and planning department. One of them that City Manager has mentioned is a proposed drive-through Starbucks located at the intersection of Decker and 14 Mile. We've received preliminary plans so far. We're still waiting for a formal application from the engineering firm, but right now that is, we're waiting for them to come forward to us. But they are moving forward with that proposed idea, and it'll be at the intersection of 14 Mile and Decker. I believe the current Starbucks located in that area in Novi side is looking to include a drive-through for their business, so they'll be moving over to the Walled Lake side. So we're still waiting for an application from them, but that is one of the projects that will be coming before the Planning Commission when they do submit. Another project that is in the works is the corner of Decker and Maple, right down here. The Planning Commission received a site plan and special land use application in July for a proposed come-and-go gas station. It was approved last week, and they are going to be moving forward with the development. They will be including 6 fuel pump stations as well as a convenience store on site. Come and Go is based in Iowa, so they are slowly starting to expand in other states. They have a few locations in Michigan. They're out west by Grand Rapids, and I believe this might be the first in Oakland County or in this area, so we're excited to welcome them. They are a family-run business, so we're looking forward for that project to come up out of the ground. Another project that is in the works is the 800 North Pontiac Trail site, the Dave and Amy's, Atrium, Big Boy site. The Taco Bell that is currently in Walled Lake is looking to expand and still stay in Walled Lake, and they've had their sites on the 800 North Pontiac Trail location. We have been working with their engineering firm to develop a site that is accommodating to the current businesses that are right there. The proposed plan is not as accommodating to some of the nearby businesses. From a economic and planning perspective, we're concerned with the current businesses that are there and how this new development may impact the access to dumpsters, access to the back of their property, and any shared arrangements that are currently there. So we'll be working with the engineering firm to hopefully develop a plan where all the businesses are able to not have their business impacted. We'll be actually meeting with the engineering firm tomorrow to discuss some of their proposed ideas, but as of right now, it's been tabled until we can come up with a plan that will support all the businesses that are currently there and not block off any access that is required. So we're...
Hannah, are they looking to keep the building, or would they raise it and build a new?
So they are proposing to demolish the current building that's on site and then reconstruct an entirely new development with access coming off of Pontiac Trail. Right now, there's 2 driveways, but they're still looking to keep that access off of Pontiac Trail.
Now, in other locations, I've seen Taco Bell along with another one of their sister companies. Is that
I think they're just looking to keep it as Taco Bell.
just Taco Bell?
That cross-access is a safety concern as well with fire. You know, you've got to be able to service.
That is one of the concerns that was brought up, was from a public safety standpoint, how the emergency vehicles are going to access the site, but also the pedestrian traffic and things of that nature that are highly congested in that area. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Well done, thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
news.
Thank you, Mr. Jakeway. Mayor, the next item we had here was, number 4, was the labor relations update, but I think Ms. Gross got us where we need to go, and that is to go into closed session, and we'll brief you on that, and then we can talk again about anything if we come out of closed session. So unless she's got something to say at this moment, we can move on to the final thing that I got to tell you about. And I'm going to ask, we have a code enforcement issue that's taken an interesting turn. You're all familiar with the correct construction on East Lake of a house that's never been completed. It's become unsightly and, I guess, a problem. Our city attorney is going to, I hope he's going to give us a little briefing on what occurred today in court to deal with the unsightly construction that's going nowhere. So if I could ask Attorney Van Arian just to give, as long as you want, but at least a couple of minutes of what you pulled off today. I think it's great for us, and it deals with our code enforcement kind of. We have to actually go to court sometimes, and he's the guy that does that. So can you give us an update on that particular house?
Certainly. Just by way of brief history, it's a construction project that started approximately 3 years ago. It's an addition to an existing home. along East Walled Lake Drive, and it's a nicer area of the city. There's lots of upscale homes in that immediate area. There was initially some issue that regarding the setbacks and, the addition being built forward, and that was ultimately resolved by way of a court action as well. The current issue is the length of time that it's taken to complete the construction. It was started about 3 years ago, and it's, the house was partially demolished. There's tarps on the roof and the walls, and it's just exposed plywood and whatnot, and it's been a real unsightly eyesore for the neighbors and for the whole community, really. So, they were having some issues during COVID, as all people were, in terms of labor and materials and things of that nature. But they just continued to. The project essentially stalled for a long period of time. So I worked with the code enforcement officer in identifying certain provisions within the zoning ordinance that we could use to move the project forward. So that's what we did. We issued a violation to the property owner for failing to complete the project within a reasonable time. And we did see some immediate response to that citation that was issued a couple weeks ago. Active construction has resumed. There's been, just within the past couple weeks, there's been quite a bit of framing that's been completed, and I did have the property owner in court this morning and explained the city's position to him. That essentially, what the city is seeking to accomplish is to have the exterior of the home completed by the end of the year, so that from the neighboring properties, from the street, it looks like a finished home from the outside. So that's our goal, that's our objective, that's sort of the line in the sand that we drew. The property owner was overall receptive and understanding, and wasn't, trying to fight or be combative or in any way. He assured that that he fully intended on meeting that deadline. So that's where it's at now. We'll have another pretrial conference in about 60 days. We'll revisit it, see where it's at, see what kind of progress he's made up to that point. But we did communicate to him in no uncertain terms that, by the end of the year, the expectation was that the exterior improvements would be completed so that it looked like a finished home.
I think that works. The point is, sometimes you have to go to court, John Denver has a song, sometimes a diamond, sometimes a stone. This is a stone. It's not working out, and if he doesn't complete it, we will demo it.
Right. That was relayed to him, that in the event that he doesn't, complete the construction by the end of the year, then the city's going to move forward and ask for a court order to have the property demolished. So,
there's a lot of angry people that own homes down there, and they expect the city to do what the city needs to do, and that is hold them accountable, and that's what we're doing. But it's never as simple as asking them to do it. There's always an excuse, always a reason. The city attorney's done a great job moving that forward, code enforcement too. So I got one more item. Just to give you a heads up, those bad things happen in Walled Lake just like they have everywhere else. Some of you are familiar that we had an arrest for murder in the city of Opelika. We had 25 there. We've had one since I've been here. The early cities, we had murders all the time. We don't have them here, but we got a murder trial going on now, so our officers are working on a murder trial. Some of them are there even as we speak. I think it's in the second day, so I'm not going to get deep into it, but I've been in cities where they have a lot. We don't have them a lot, but we do have them. So our guys are attending trial. I won't ask the chief to speak up because that's not what he wants to do unless he wants to add to it. But how many officers we got attending that murder trial? 2?
We had 3 testify today.
And so we don't know how that ends. We're not prosecuting. We did the work. We worked up the case. The murder happened in our city. Like I said, I've been in cities where a lot of murders happen. but they do happen here too. And this one's kind of nasty, so we'll see how, if the prosecutor's office handles it properly. That should be a conviction, but can't guarantee. Prosecutors are busy nowadays prosecuting policemen more than they are bad guys, but we'll see. That's an opinion of mine. You might have figured that out. That's all I've got for the evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Do we have any correspondence?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. I got 2 items for you tonight. The first one is a first reading of a proposed ordinance amendment to the city's sewer ordinance. Essentially, what this proposed amendment would do, it would adopt an express definition of building sewer service lead. Essentially, it's a codification of a definition that the city and WRC, who operates the system on the city's behalf, has always used and applied. It basically would expressly identify the section of pipe between the building and the sewer main as the building sewer service lead that is the responsibility of the homeowner to maintain and replace as needed. It would avoid any confusion on property owner parts in terms of what their responsibilities are and aren't, and what the city's responsibilities are and aren't. Especially as it relates to any portion of the lead that may be located on public property or within the public right-of-way. So it doesn't really change anything from what the city is currently doing. It simply codifies the existing definitions and policies that have been in place for a long period of time.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I have a question. In reading through this proposed ordinance change, I noticed that it says, I'm looking for some clarification, because in most cases, the sewer main is on the opposite side. In a lot of cases, the sewer main is on the opposite side of the street, and the lateral comes across to the property line, to the homeowner's property line, at which point in time the homeowner then takes responsibility for the connection from the house property line to the house itself. And when you're talking about laterals, does that include what's underneath the road? Is the homeowner responsible for that portion of the sewer main that is on the lateral that's under the road? That was my main.
That's what I've been told, is that's the way that the city and WRC has always approached it.
So in other words,
That if it's the portion of the building sewer lead, even if part of it is located within the public right-of-way, they're responsible for replacing and maintaining that portion of their own building sewer lead that is located within the public right-of-way up to the point that it connects with the city sewer main. So that's the way it was explained to me in terms of how it's always been approached, and that's obviously one of the purposes of this ordinance amendment is to clarify that.
well, that's kind of a reach, because say a heavy truck comes down a city street and busts up the lateral that comes across underneath the road. Okay? Now that you're saying that the homeowner is responsible for digging up the road and replacing that lateral. That's the way I would read it.
That's exactly what the ordinance says, and like I said, my understanding is that's the approach that has always been taken by the city and WRC, who maintains and operates the system on the city's behalf. So,
When these lines were put in the early 70s, there were a lot of early 70s.
Right, but I'm saying it could be the 50s.
No, it's over 50. Anyway, a lot of trees have grown up in the meantime. So if there's a major tree in somebody's yard and the roots happen to go into that lateral from the main,
right,
then they're responsible for taking care of that lateral.
yeah, that's one of the common causes of a building sewer lead failure or tree roots growing into it.
Right.
So, yeah, that is a common situation, that is a common problem. But that is really, the current ordinance is silent as to defining what the building sewer service lead is. I mean, it's different with the water side of the ordinance. It's a little bit more clear cut. But on the sewer side, for whatever reason, there's no express definition of the building sewer service lead, and there's no language in there that speaks to the responsibility to maintain and replace that as needed. Like I said, the way it's been explained to me is that it's always been the responsibility of the property owner to replace and maintain the entirety of the lead up to the point of connection with the sewer main, including any portion that might be located in the public right-of-way. Now, if I'm incorrect about that, I mean, certainly city management or Dan could probably speak more authoritatively to that in terms of what the city has done historically than I could in that regard. But
Historically,
the way it's been explained to me is that's the way it's been.
When we put that sewer line in, the city ended up putting a lead right to the property line. And it was a 6-inch, and a typical homeowner, it was a 6-inch crock. And then the homeowner would typically put in like a 4-inch galvanized or cast iron, whatever, lead, and make to that. And that was a connection. So my understanding was, and I'm good with maintaining my own stuff on my own property, but to maintain something that the city owns, that's
What
kind of a
the
reach.
ordinance says is they're responsible for the portion of the building sewer service lead up to the point that it connects to a
building,
a public portion of the system.
Right.
So if that portion of the lateral that you're speaking to is part of the sewer main or part of the public system, then they would be responsible to replace it up to that point. My understanding is that the way it's been interpreted and applied over the years is that they're responsible for the entire portion of the building lead up to where it connects to the main, including the portion that's located in the public right-of-way. But, like I said, maybe city management or DPW can speak more authoritatively as to the history of that than I could, but that's the way it's been explained to me anyway.
So a question, so the main, the main runs along the road, and then the pipe that goes from the house to that main, that is the responsibility of the homeowner. And that's what we're going to be saying 100%, for making it very clear. Is that correct? Am I right, Dan?
Yes.
Right, so there's no question, even though the main, let's say it goes down the center of the road, sometimes it goes on one side of the road or the other side. So we're just clarifying, and most other communities, the homeowner is responsible.
That's correct.
Right. So, but, I mean, as we're all homeowners, so, the idea that, I mean, I understand what you're saying, John.
Well,
I get it.
it could become a very sticky wicket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's your tree, what happens if it's your neighbor?
Well, no, I'm talking about a lateral that goes under the road, or
Yeah,
a
under
portion
the
of the road, under the ground.
Right.
If there's an issue with that, if it breaks from, say, a heavy truck traffic or whatever, or God forbid, an earthquake or
Right.
whatever, now, we're responsible for repairing
under
that
the
lateral, under
Right.
the road.
How deep is that line? Isn't it like 10 feet, 12
No.
feet?
They vary, they can be
Varies.
anywhere.
They can be 3, 4 feet?
8 to
6 to 8.
18.
At least,
Depends on where it's located.
right. It's
And
not
depends.
usually a line that's close to the surface.
The main is usually about 18 feet deep, but then the laterals, depending upon the homeowner, most homeowners, if they don't have a basement, They go about 6 feet deep. So there's that.
That's true, the basement creates a lower connection point.
Right. So a basement would make an 18-foot lateral. But most homeowners in our subdivisions have opted to not have it in a basement. Or if they do have a basement, they use what they call a lift pump. So,
Mayor, why don't we try to get that tabled? I don't know that there's a rush on it, and then we can come back with some more update view. I'm sure this is one of those things, it's not a right or wrong issue, it's a fairness kind of issue. I think the city council can vote to have a lot of things happen that people won't like, but we might want to take a look at this a little further and get a better interpretation and give you maybe some actual examples of what we're doing. If there's no rush to do this, table it until the next meeting, and then we can work with the Public Works Superintendent and other people who might be able to provide input for the council, have a better report for you, and then before you vote. I think there's some really good questions asked there, and I think Councilman Osnick made his point. He's got a view that most of us don't have. My guess is he put his own line in back in 64 or 60. I'm not joking. Did you?
I did.
That's right.
I did my own.
He knows a little bit about putting the lines in, so perhaps we should listen to him a little bit more. So if I could get you guys to table that, we'll come back with a better report.
I'll make a motion
so
to
you can
table.
make a better informed decision.
Make a motion to table.
Yeah.
We have a motion to table.
And a second.
And Ostick will second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Good idea.
Let's put that one to bed for a couple weeks. Okay. City Attorney, you, looks like you have a few more.
The second item I have for you is a proposed settlement with the outstanding financial obligation with the Trailway Council. Under the interlocal agreement, at the time that a member withdraws from the Trailway, which the city did back in May of, I believe it was 2020, the interlocal agreement requires that the assets of the Trailway be divided 3 ways. So if you got a member withdraw, the withdrawing member gets a third of whatever the assets the Trailway has at that time. The Trailway manager has provided us with an accounting of the assets at the time that the city withdrew from the Trailway Council, and also an itemization of some additional costs and expenses that were incurred by the Trailway over the past couple of years since the city withdrew. And there was a couple-year period of time there due to MDNR delays where, it was still a little bit in limbo. Even though the city had withdrawn by resolution from the Trailway Council, it's still, the withdrawal had not been approved by MDNR. Their approval was required. It took several years to get an agreement from MDNR approving of the withdrawal, which we eventually got and has been signed and finalized. So there was a period of time there, several years, I think, where the Trailway Council was incurring some costs and expenses relative to the city portion of the trail. I can't speak to the specifics of the amounts or the specifics of the line items as well. I can just tell you that I know that there were some costs and expenses that they did incur relative to the city portion of the trail for a few years after the city withdrew. So the proposed settlement is before you. I prepared a proposed resolution. What the Trailway manager is telling us is that the Trailway Council owes the city approximately, I believe it's $17,000 and some change. Once we resolve that last this last financial issue, then the split will be done at that point.
Very good. Excellent.
Okay, I'm assuming the figures have been reviewed and we're in agreement with this?
As your manager, I recommend we vote yes and part ways with the Trail Council. Several of you people sitting here have been representatives on the Trail Council. I know I was at one point, and everybody served, and I think our intention was to get out and do the job that we can do and manage the trail here. There's no reason to have any arm wrestling over what may or may not exist. We need to get out, and we need to take advantage of our ownership of the trail and put it to use. So I would recommend, administration recommends you approve the agreement.
Could I have a motion to
What
approve?
number would this be?
73.
Thank you. I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there support?
second.
Anyone else have any comments? Yes.
Osnick has a comment. Does this conclude our obligations to the Trail Council completely? And does this also allow us full and free use? And does this sign off the title?
Well,
to
I
our
think the
property?
city attorney can probably answer that as better than I can, but I believe it does. We certainly, once this is done, I certainly intend to put staff on it and identify it as a Wall Lake Trail, as a linear park, and all the things that goes along with that, signage and all that. But we've not done any of that until this is done. I'm not sure there's any paperwork that they can come up with that says they still have a connection. I believe we're pretty close to being done. Can you add to that?
As far as I know, this is the last issue with the Trailway Council, although they seem to come back with, there's always something else, some little
My
thing that needs
experience,
to be
What
taken
about-
care of.
my own experience
But
with
we've
the
been
law.
working through the issues, getting accounts changed into the city's name and getting agreements switched over and whatnot. And I'm pretty sure this is the last issue, and once we get this,
We've
What
not
about
had,
things like signal maintenance, or who's responsible for that?
we're going to be in charge of it. It's going to be it is our trail now, we believe it is, but that doesn't mean that they don't get creative and try to bring things up. They always do. I've not had good experiences with the law firm over there, it's just been not a good experience for us. I remember sitting at a meeting, and I think Councilman Osnick was a representative, and we made a vote of the Trailway Council to hire an engineering firm to do what needed to be done next. And we all went back to the next meeting and found out that they appointed their own engineering firm to do some work, and it just was wrong. But, what's the punishment? There was none. So we need to get out, and we're going to be
agree.
maintaining it. We're going to be maintaining it, and it's essentially another linear park at this point.
Can I just have and just clarify for me that we did have a vote of the citizens of Walled Lake on this issue, didn't we?
We had a vote for millage. Is that what you're talking about? With all due respect to the people on the trail, and, it looks like there's a few people using at least our trail and that trail. I'm not sure they're using it up on 5. I've been here 13 years and seen 6 people walk on it, but this one's being used, and it will be used. We had a vote. The city council put it up for a vote, and it failed. There were people of Wall Lake, the voters of Wall Lake, were not willing to fund millage to fund the trail. That doesn't mean the newer group might not do that if you did it again, but they failed. They didn't support the trail. The majority of Wall Lake voters did not support a millage for maintenance of the trail. So it's going to come out of our general fund, but it's our trail, and we were in it anyway. And the problem with these extraordinary governmental entities, they become another layer of government. They take their own, and it just keeps building the costs, and they push back, and you have no say. And we got that going on with WODA right now. We got, that they're exploding into, some sort of a huge operation, and that cost gets passed on to the riders, to everybody. So, but we're stuck with that, and the county's trying to take over, but they're so young at it. But we got WODA, which they're trying to build it into their own organization and maybe take over the county. I'm not sure what their mission is, but we're not good with them either. As a matter of fact, they had a budget was it a budget amendment, what, the budget? Anybody know anything about budgets on the council? Yeah, you're supposed to know what the budget proposal is before you vote, so they put it up and they don't tell anybody what they're going to vote on. They vote by motion to pass, that's that organ. So that's an example of the stuff we've been through. I gave you the example of where they just pick engineering firms, even though the vote of the board. We need to be out of it. I want my council to be in charge of their responsibilities, and they are. I think city attorney did a great job negotiating with those people, and it's interesting. I've had a really interesting time dealing with them for 13 years, and I'll be glad to be done completely.
This should finalize
I think it does. I think it does.
the tri-party.
Yeah, it's
And we still are
fairly certain that
responsible
this
for our
is the last
section.
issue that
It's essentially a linear park, which goes to the whole issue. I think even at the
I don't think we can put any gates up.
No, we're not going to do that, but we're going to treat it like a park. It needs to be included now in the master plan, the recreation plan. That's one of the issues. When they brought it up the other night, I was at the meeting, it was last night, and they brought it up. Yep, it's time to put that in and take a look at all of our recreation plan as well as a master plan. But that's a linear park now. Essentially, that's what it is. And the council called that some last few years ago.
As long as we got we've got a clear title to this property now.
right.
If we own it free and clear.
Yeah.
That's where we're going with this.
Okay, I do believe we have a motion, right? Okay. Is discussion through? Anybody else? Okay, let's have a roll call.
Let's see. Fernandez?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Lublin?
Yes.
Osnick?
Oh, yes.
Woods?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Ackley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Definitely a yes.
Okay. Is that all, Mr. Attorney?
And that's all I have.
Nothing more to add? Okay. Okay, there being no unfinished business, we'll move on to new business, and we will start with proposed resolution 2023.
74 for Glenwood, correct?
74 still right?
Yeah, because we bounced, yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. What's the pleasure of council to do road repair in Glenwood Hills subdivision?
I'll make the motion to approve resolution to accept and approve the sole source bid from vetted vendor HG Sartor to repair asphalt in the Glenwood Hills subdivision in a predetermined section, and this being resolution 2023-74.
I'll support that.
I'll support that.
Okay.
We all support it.
Sartor's a good
I think Bennett
guy.
beat you. Bennett beat you, because he's actually
We
been
have a
over there.
whole lot of support here.
I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
I've got,
That corner.
Mayor, under discussion, I got the Public Works Superintendent to give just a short update. Dan, can you just tell them what we're doing over there?
Okay, sure. So the beginning, right at the very end of Glenwood Drive starts Glenwood Court. There's an eyebrow there. It makes a sharp 90-degree turn. And on that curve with the traffic and just the tires and the wear on the asphalt, it's turning it to gravel pretty much. It's the worst area in the subdivision. I think it would be, a great improvement to the subdivision for public safety, even kids on bikes and stuff with the gravel. It's easy for them to wipe out. So I really recommend doing this project, and I think it'd be great.
And doing it right.
Doing it right, yes.
Not
And the process will be, the process of doing it is pretty much the same as a overlay like they did on Pine Trail. They'll mill the edges and then put a 2-inch cap over the road.
We're doing little projects by little projects. The bigger project actually is a little bigger than that. If you've been over on Anjo, which was
Anjo,
pretty nasty. Yeah, you've been there?
That's nice now.
Well, we did Anjo completely. They milled it, they did the whole thing, and we got that done. Interesting, we had complaints from the people who lived there that we should delay that because some bus was picking up the children, and so the very person who was going to benefit was complaining that city wasn't giving we were just lucky to get them to come in and do the road on time, but they were calling up and saying pretty awful things to the front office from time to time because we were paving road. I think one of the ladies, I won't call her out, but she went like, "We're paving your road. What are you complaining about?" But they did. They call up and say bad things, and that's the way it is in this business. But we got Anjo done. We're going to keep doing.
You can't
we got
please
some
all the
ideas.
people all the time.
Yeah.
As long as we can please some, then we're happy.
Add to that, though, they did get it done by Friday.
We got it done on Friday.
Okay, we have a motion. Any?
Oh,
I think we already did.
Yeah, we have a
We
motion.
already did. We all supported it.
Second, yes.
We all
I
supported
understand that. If you, is there any further comment? Can we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Locke?
yes.
Lublin?
Yes.
Osnick?
Yes.
Woods?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Ackley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is Resolution 2023-75, appointing Scott Schrader as a voting member of the West Oakland Transit Authority. Lucky, lucky Scott. Is there a motion, please?
Do we need to ask him if...
Can't wait to tell you why, under discussion, why we're appointing Scott.
I have a sneaking suspicion.
Yeah.
I'll propose Resolution 2023-75, appointing Scott Schrader as the voting member of the Western Oakland Transportation Authority. That would be WOTA.
Second.
Nickel second.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any comments?
I do. I'm appointing, nominated Scott, you're appointing. Mr. Schrader will go over there and be the one who points out, for the record, the mistakes that they're making purposely at every meeting. He will be voting no on pretty much everything that they try to do that's not appropriate. He's been from the beginning. He hasn't been the voting member. He's just been saying, like, what are you doing? So as a voting member, he gets to say that. That doesn't mean they'll fix it, but Wall Lake won't be part of the system that's doing it wrong. That's what it is. Mr. Schrader has a great history with me, being the bulldog and getting it done. He's as good as anybody I've ever met in the business with numbers and budgets and those kind of things. He's run bigger cities than I have, bigger counties than I have, and he's going to go and try to get them back in shape and before the county finally takes it over. But hopefully they'll listen. There's some people over there that they just have no clue what they're doing. They're without any leadership or management. And weak board members. I mean, if somebody tells you you need to pass a budget, you need to submit the budget to the board before they vote, I think that's pretty simple stuff, but they vote without ever seeing it. Whatever she mumbles, you pass it, you verbalize a budget and pass it by motion. Does that make any sense to anybody? So he's going to call that out. It doesn't mean it makes their minutes because they write the minutes, but he's going to be our voice, your voice, that you're doing it wrong. And that's why I need you to appoint him.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Lublin?
Yes.
Osnick?
Yes.
Woods?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Ackley? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one is 2023-76, authorizing for continued participation in the Michigan Class Pool and amendments to participation. Do I have a motion?
But we'll get some clarification. Now propose Resolution 2023-76, authorizing continued participation in the Michigan Class Pool for investment purposes and accepts amendments to the participation agreement of the Michigan Cooperative Liquid Asset Security System, Michigan Class. I'm sure Chelsea will fill us in a little bit on this.
That's exactly who I was going to ask you to speak to it. It's time to start paying attention to the money we got
Did I
in
have a
investing.
second?
No.
I'm sorry.
Was that a motion? I thought he just...
did.
Okay, good.
Fernandez, second.
Thank you.
Okay, now go ahead, sir.
Well, she's going to give the other council members an update, Mayor. I know you know because this has been around for a while. We've been a member, but we've not been utilizing it as efficiently as we could. Time now to pay attention to the money we got in the bank and where we're putting it rather than CDs. And so we had some experts in investments. We got Mr. Schrader, we got Ms. Pesta. And so she's going to give us an update on what we're doing now.
Yes, so we have actually been a member in a participation group for Michigan Class since 1993. And once you're a participant, you're part of the pool for an ongoing amount of time. Since then, though, there have been a number of amendments made to the participation agreement. There are a number of municipalities who put money into this pool. So with us to continue our relationship, we just thought it was appropriate to keep everything up to record, and we want to make sure that we are accepting the newest amendments that have recently come across. It mainly is just updating, outdating references in the current agreement, just because it's been a long time since their board has looked at their participation agreement. So they sent it all to everyone who participates to just accept and move forward with the participation group.
Let me add to it, this is a pool investment kind of a program, and there's several of them around the state, and everybody wants you to join. I think that even the county treasurer's got their version of investments and stuff like that. The administration of this was created in 1991, and a very smart councilwoman in 1993 moved to participate in the program, and that was Councilmember Linda Ackley. 1993. Do you remember?
I remember something about it, yes.
You created.
I wasn't sure of the smartness, but I guess we did
You
it.
created a program in '93 that we're participating in still, and it looks like it's going to benefit us more this year than it has in recent past. So, and we're updating it and getting the people's names that need to be on it now. But it was I don't know if you remember, but it was your motion, according to our research. It was your motion that put us into the program in '93. It had been going on for about 2 years all over the state, and in '93 you moved to move into the program. That's what the record shows.
That's what the record shows. Must be right. Any questions? Are we ready for a vote? Roll call, please.
Osnick?
Yes.
Woods?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Lublin?
Yes.
Ackley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Looks like we're on to number 4, the amendment to Chapter 51, liability waiver. Okay. This would be ordinance 36923. What's the pleasure of council?
Osnick will approve second reading of ordinance number C 369-23, amending the zoning title.
Is there support?
Woods will second.
Okay, we have motion, we have support. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Woods?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Lublin?
Yes.
Osnick?
Yes.
Ackley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 5 and 6 will be held over until after our executive session. So at this time, we'll have council comments. Starting,
Just one note. I'd like to make a special report on Peruvian coffee. It's most excellent. I was gifted a nice sampling of Peruvian coffee from parties unknown.
I'm not sure where that all came
it
from,
took you
but
how many
sounds
years?
wonderful. I'm ready for a hot cup of good coffee.
It took you how many years to have Peruvian coffee?
I have not had Peruvian coffee before.
Oh, my
I've
goodness.
had Colombian,
Oh, my goodness.
Arabica, among others.
It's not Juan Valdez in Peru, it's Juan Acosta.
How would you know that?
Okay, do you have any other comments?
None.
That was enough.
That concludes my comments for tonight.
Tamara?
I would just like to thank city staff. While I've been off, and probably many of us have been off enjoying our summer, you guys have not been off enjoying your summers. Obviously, with the $4 million grant, with the streets that are still being repaired, and many more projects on the table without raising taxes, which is great. So I thank you.
Well said. Mindy?
I don't know if all you know, but we're talking about coffee. The only state in our country that grows its own coffee is Hawaii. And I just wanted, I don't know, some of you know that I was in Lahaina just last Tuesday as the fires started. And so I wanted to just let you know we're grateful to be back, and we really are praying for everybody there who literally have lost everything. We drove through Lahaina Thursday morning on our way out, and there was nothing there. You could see right from the Safeway all the way to the marina. So it was very devastating, and just asking for everybody to think about them, and if you can, please make a donation. On my website, on my Facebook page, I have some suggestions for places, like 10 places that you can make donations. My husband and I donated to the Maui Food Bank, but if you can, in your heart, reach in and make a donation to help rebuild and help those people, it would be great.
Thank you. Brian, and we're glad you made it home safely.
I appreciate that comment. I just want to say great job, the DPW team. Anjo Street Cemetery looked great. Concerts in the park, Farmers Market is great. The $4 million grant is great. It's continuing the work that everybody is putting in. Chief Coomer, it wasn't stated, but it was in our packet. June 4.08 minutes response time average. July 3.93, amazing. Below the 4-minute mark. Your training, continuing that is great. And then for council colleagues, the mayor, I really appreciate all the work everybody's putting in, heading in the same direction, and the $4 million grant really ties into what we've been pushing, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Ambrose.
Everything else seems pretty spoken for. I really just want to congratulate Ms. Heaven Adams on her new accepted position on our Parks and Rec Board. Excited to see the, what you want to call the next generation kind of start picking up the throne and leading the way. Congratulations.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. So many wonderful things have already been said, and certainly our hearts go out to Hawaii. That pension, the pension debt is one of the biggest issues that's been on our plate for years, and this is really going to make a nice difference and put us in the right place. And good job going after it and getting it and making sure it's in our bank, and that's where it's at now. And really, the entire team.
Actually,
And we're part of that team.
it's in MERS's bank because that was,
Oh, I see. They don't release it.
they didn't give it to us. We had to agree to let it go right into MERS, so they're going to be holding it, and we may even have to come back, or we may need to come back and get some guidance from the council on how we proceed in the future. I believe we continue paying down like we're doing, but there are some issues that could come up, but they set it aside, and it offsets what we got. But there are issues not issues, that makes it sound like there's a problem. There's things that we may want to deal with in terms of how we fund it in the future, but this is not the time to do. This is the time to say we got $4 million that the legislature was wise enough to appropriate. I think the total was, Chelsea, $750 million?
$775 million.
Okay, so $775 million to protect pensions. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, that's a wise move. And it certainly does protect the people who've worked to earn those pensions. So we're pretty happy about that here. So we'll be back if we need to be back about how we manage that in the future.
Yeah, the last 5 years have been, very little interest or, any type of dividend, any type of investment has not grown. No. And that's been a very difficult time, and we did well just to keep our
That's what this council did. The council stopped the bleeding by bridging down and demanding that we renegotiate the benefits, and that's essentially what we had to do. So some of the newer employees have lesser benefit than had the older employees, but the older employees are entitled to what they were promised. So we've never tried to reduce that, but we did reduce the promises. It's called bridging down and negotiating, and that's why we did that, and that was what this council mandated literally from the day I got here. That's why I came. They knew that it was, well, they may not have known it was 11 million, but they knew it was a lot of million. And it turns out it was 11, and we're below 11 now. But it'll take a few more years to get that paid down enough to really brag about it. But we're not bleeding anymore, and we're at, the pension is no longer in jeopardy. The pensioners are going to get their money. So, thank you for bringing that up, council member.
Okay, I don't think I missed anybody on council. The mayor's report, I have no specific issues tonight. I just also want to, I guess it hits me pretty hard too, I don't know. It's great as far as this pension goes. When I heard about it, it just was a big relief. We've had that over our head, and we still have it over our head, but, it's kind of like getting half your house paid for. It really helps. But I think we have to thank all of the employees, city manager, everybody does a fantastic job. No matter what you need, whatever they're doing, it's done. And on a personal level, I want to thank everybody, and I also want to thank the council. They've helped me get through some difficult times lately, and they've been there to support me, and I thank you. You don't know how much it means from the bottom of your heart when you need to call somebody and you get a word of encouragement. So with that, I say thank you, and we will adjourn.
We'll move into executive session.
Yes,
If you'd let me finish, dear, we will adjourn into executive session. You just won't let me get it out tonight. Maybe it'd be better, we'll step into executive session. How's that?
As you say.
So, the audience, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to go home.
We need to take 10 minutes
Yeah,
or
we
something.
got
We'll take 10 minutes.
by,
You can
right?
take 10 minutes leaving, you can visit, you can be part of us.
Recording stopped.
Single department, line item budgets, it's $1 billion budget, it's a lot of money, and making sure we do it right. That is to say, there's a few things that I wanted to put at least on your radar to let you know. The Board of Commissioners has a special projects fund, and what we are is allocating money for different communities for any special projects that you see important that are transformational in your community. I think I spoke with Mayor, I spoke with our city manager, and Ms. Jaquez as well. I would really like to get this money. It's earmarked for different communities, and it's there for the taking. Quite honestly, if we can find a project that we can put this money towards, and it's not a huge chunk of change, it's just a little bit, somewhere in the ballpark of about $10,000, give or take, but at the same time, why lose it, is my opinion, right? So as grant opportunities come along, I'm sending them through to the city manager. Anytime there's money to be had, my thought is, hey, look, let's grab what we can. So I just got $10,000 for the city of Wixom to do their holiday lighting ceremony. They're expanding their campus, and they want to put some additional decorations, displays, things like that. So similarly, whether it's something as simple as just a holiday display or something bigger that you think could be very worthwhile for the community, would very much like to seize that opportunity. So I would like to continue working with you. If you can identify anything as a council, please let me know. We're also advocating for additional funding for youth assistance to the tune of almost $500,000. It's a special project that's near and dear to all of us. In fact, they just did a backpack giveaway last week, for those of you who are familiar. Went through 500 backpacks for the community. So they're continuing to do some great work here close to home. So we're definitely advocating for them. One other project that we recently got underway is we're working with our county public health department. I was working with Ms. Jaquez, and we have marijuana lockboxes distributed here in the city of Wall Lake. So we've teamed up here next door with our police department, and they're free for distribution. So any area resident, especially with medical marijuana or, for recreational purposes, a lot of the edibles and things like that can look like candy and be consumed and, kind of consumed in error by children or whoever. So one thing we're trying to do to keep the community safe is providing these lock boxes. So we did get a grant for that, and we're working with our county health department, so we have several hundred available. We started with 50 just for now. They were actually delivered just last week, I believe, Mr. Euclid, correct? They were delivered Thursday or Friday of last week, so they are available to the public. I did put a blast out on our social media. Please, if you could continue to do the same, let the community know that that is available here for you, for anybody that wants one. There's really no identification required. There's really nothing. They're just held behind the desk. So if somebody comes in and says, hey, I'd like to get one, they can just get one and go from there. So we don't ask who it's for or what their purpose is. It's just there for safekeeping. And then the last thing I just wanted to briefly discuss was WODA, and Mr. Schrader, I know we met a couple months ago to talk about this, so just a quick update on transit, which is always, a topic that many people talk about. So right now, we are continuing to make investments. I know WODA is currently the service provider, and we can have some further conversations offline about our feelings on that, and I know we talked extensively at a few meetings ago about that. For the time being, really what the county is doing is prioritizing the people that don't have transit already in place. So what that means is we're trying to expand our current fixed routes. We have a few fixed routes that should be starting probably by the end of this year. I will be sharing maps with our city manager so he can distribute that to council and get that out to the public of what that'll look like. In addition to that, we have also signed an agreement with People's Express for some of the adjacent communities, so just to make you aware. So there's 7 city, village, and townships that are adjacent to us. So it's the city of Wixom, Commerce Township, Lyon Township, South Lyon, Wolverine Lake, Milford Township. I think those are the 7. Have just signed an agreement with People's Express to basically take down the barriers and have uninterrupted service that goes all the way from M59 down to, I believe it's 8 Mile, and from 23 all the way to Drake. So I can send that map along as well, but basically what we've done is rather than every community having their own individual level of service, all of them have grouped together to have a contract signed with People's Express in Oakland County, so that for a fare of $4, anyone can get transported. It's door-to-door service for $4, and then for seniors, disabled veterans, it's $2. So if we are interested in potentially doing something like that here on Walled Lake, I would certainly entertain that discussion. I know this is something that has been a sore spot for some time, and again, I'm not necessarily advocating that we need to make a change. Right now, the county is primarily focused on investing the dollars and funding on areas of highest priority. So again, places that don't have public transit, you think kind of the northwest areas and things like that. In fact, even for WODA, I think they've invested a couple of $100,000. We just purchased 12 new buses for them and some additional infrastructure and things like that, so that may be something that we can talk about as well. But that's an ongoing process, so I just wanted to let you know that we are continuing to work on that. We're hoping to get the consultant in here, I'm hoping within the next couple of months, to speak with the communities and get some more feedback and try to figure out where we go from there. So that's the latest on public transit. So just a few notes I wanted to share with everybody. If there's any questions.
You mentioned that you're looking for small projects. We just had someone in tonight from Woods Court asking about the sidewalk between Woods Court and Decker. Could we possibly look into that?
We certainly could. It's earmarked more as kind of like a community type of project. So, I mean, certainly I could advocate for it, but I'll be honest with you, I think that what they're trying to do is try to get money out to the community that's going to benefit the largest number of people. I mean, certainly if the sidewalk is something we want to, okay, which is fine, and if certainly if that's something we want to pursue, usually it's more in line with, if it's a one-time investment for kind of citywide type things. So again, I bring the example of like even Wixom that we went to support their holiday lighting display to kind of do something nice for the whole community.
Or event.
Or event, correct. Yeah, it's kind of on a bigger, correct. It's almost on a bigger scale, right? So certainly that's something we can talk, if that's ultimately where we land and say, hey, that's really what we want to spend this money on, I can advocate for that.
We're going to buy you dinner or lunch one day this coming week Jake Way's going to identify the project. We're going to get the sidewalk fixed no matter what, but,
Sure.
So all of that's going to get covered. But we're going to ask you for some money by the
Sure.
next week.
Sure, absolutely, yeah, that would be wonderful. And like I said,
By the project. We got a lot of projects. I mean, like, it's like.
There's always something to do.
Can't let Wixom get some money that, you know.
right, right, absolutely. And that's kind of my thought too, right? I'm representing all these communities. I want to make sure we get our fair share.
That young woman over there will be in touch with you or your staff by the end of the week. And
Perfect.
we'll set something up and identify some projects that may fit with what the county wants to do with their money.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. Let's take our 10-minute break. to discuss the agreements with the fire department, paid on call and full-time. We are now out of executive session, and we have a couple resolutions to vote on.
Recording in progress.
I'm sorry. We have a couple of resolutions here that we need to vote on regarding the fire department. The first one would be a ratifying agreement with MAF on behalf of the Wall Lake Professional Firefighters Association. And that would be resolution number what now?
77.
77. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
Fernandez makes that motion.
Woods will second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion at this time? Roll call, please.
Ackley?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Lublin?
Yes.
Osnick?
Yes.
Woods?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is ratifying the agreement with MAF on behalf of the Wall Lake paid on-call and part-time firefighters, and that being resolution number 75, 2023-75.
Or
What-
78.
78.
Locke will make that motion.
Lublin supports.
Okay.
Roll call.
We have a motion, we have support. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Lublin?
Yes.
Osnick?
Yes.
Woods?
Yes.
Ackley?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes all the scheduled business tonight.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Anybody else parting words? Otherwise, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
He's back to adjourn.
Anyone opposed? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, let's go home.
Go.